He says, everybody says that. I won't take the name. Very, very senior officer, one of our former chiefs. He said that, GD, everybody says that about his tenure as a wait and watch. या तो ये लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के पार भाग गए हैं और जो बचे खुचे हैं वो Victor Fox has had a bonanza because they've gone across. But this area is quiet as a lamb. It's quiet as a lamb thanks to General Leader.
He commanded his battalion during the Kargil conflict. One of the defining chapters of his career was as commander of the renowned Romeo Force, where he played a pivotal role in stabilizing Rajouri Poonch region in the aftermath of Operation Sarfanash. In addition to his operational brilliance, Major General Bakshi has held prestigious staff and instructional appointments, including 2 tenures at the Directorate General of Military Operations, as well as teaching at the Indian Military Academy, the Defence Services Staff College in Wellington, and the National Defence College in Delhi. His academic accomplishments include a Master's in Defence Science as MPhil, a PhD in Strategic Studies from the University of Madras, with a focus on limited wars in South Asia. A prolific scholar and a thought leader, he has authored 46 books and over 300 research papers shaping India's strategic discourse, and is currently the editor of the Indian Military Review, India's largest circulated defense magazine. In 2018, his lifelong contribution was recognized with the Chandrasekhar Azad Rashtriya Samman Award. Major General G.D. Bakshi is not just a decorated soldier and a strategist, but also a mentor, thinker, and one of India's most influential voices in national security. We are very privileged to have him here with us today.
Thank you, Neha Bitia. General Leader, General Hasnan, very dear friends and distinguished panelists on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, talks of a concept called synchronicity. When great things have to happen, you'll find a number of things come together which seem to be by coincidence, but they are a part of a larger design. And let me elucidate what I'm trying to say. General Leader was the brigade commander, 10 Brigade. He had seen the build-up in Hill Kaka take place. So when he came as GOC Romeo Force, within the first week, he was very clear what he had to do. He was very clear. The thinking at that time was Surankot is the center of gravity, and my God, that's where all the action is. When he went up to that sector, he told him, you better get onto Hill Kaka. Because he was that crystal clear, because he had served. He had been on the ground, you see. And that is what I call a synchronicity. Right? The second synchronicity is that I took over from him. And when he briefed me, he said, GD, they are out of that bloody area. We scattered them. Now they are in the built-up areas. Go for it. You'll get human ink. And I was lucky that almost 3 years I had served in Kishtwar, where we had nothing technical. We had to rely on human. And we had mastered that art, I think, quite well. And one major lesson that I had learned in my 3 years of counter-terrorist tenure in Hill Kaka was go for command and control attrition. Don't go around killing piadas. Don't try to act a big bloody number to your name, because it won't solve the problem. It might pander to your ego, but it will not solve the problem. And that I'm pretty clear, and as has been highlighted in this, the center of gravity are the people. You've got to have the people on your side, and especially in those jungles, you can keep doing jungle bashing, aapko ek khabar nahi aayegi. And if you don't get information, you will tire your troops out and get them casualties. You'll tire your troops out and get them casualties. So I was very grateful that he had set the stage, and from there I thought I was quite qualified to take on. By 2005, the fence had come up, and there was a 70 to 80% degrade in infiltration, combined with the massive impact of Sat Vinash, which was a psychological blow. Very few people have understood that particular aspect. It was in the battle of narratives that you have to win, right? And in the battle of narratives, the feeling was that Hill Kaka is like Bhindra Wale in the Golden Temple. Which is a metaphor he used to use quite often. That from there commands are coming, isko maro, isko knock out karo, ye gaon pe attack karo. And as long as that exists, there's no question of whatever you do, however many you kill, it will keep going on. And we found that in previous dispensations, the number of kills had been far higher. But the problem had not been solved. The problem had not been solved. And it is only, and once again, there is another very interesting aspect to it. Counter-terrorist operations are supposed to be the domain of small team operations, 10 to 15. That's it. But my personal experience and the experience of Sat Vinash tells you that once in a while, when you get a target, you have to go in for a massive operation. And that massive operation has huge psychological consequences down the line. Huge psychological consequences down the line. So he set the stage. I was lucky that nature or destiny had given me the chance to get onto these kind of operations. I was able to mop up in the wake of Operation Sat Vinash, and by the time we left, people were going for picnics to Nuri Falls. They were going for picnics to Nuri Falls, right? That is what it is. I was told, but you haven't killed as many. I said, sir, the area, it's all over. He says, everybody says that. I won't take the name. Very, very senior officer, one of our former chiefs. He said that, GD, everybody says that about his tenure as a wait and watch. या तो ये लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के पार भाग गए हैं, और जो बचे खुचे हैं वो Victor Fox has had a bonanza because they've gone across. But this area is quiet as a lamb. It's quiet as a lamb thanks to General Leader. He started it all. He launched that decisive critical operation which broke the back of the terrorists, which broke that narrative. He is invincible. You see, that Hill Kaka thing is a long damn climb. And the terrorist, when he has to escape, he gets onto a height. He can watch you coming. He just keeps going back. And once in a while, he gives you a pepper shot to keep you amused. And he will always, at the end of it, when you are tired, and that was the problem with Hill Kaka, that you are dead tired by the time you reach the base. You are in no position to fight, and you end up with 17 casualties, as the Colonel GS was bringing up. 17 casualties in one operation. My God, even in conventional military operations, you would be shaken up if you had casualties like that. So, the entire domination of the terrorists in the Rajouri Poonch area was gone. I want to take up why now. It's come at a very critical time, sir. Your book has come at a very critical time. For long I have been pushing General Leader, Hadi sir, you have to write this down. You have to write this down. Because we Indians are notoriously poor at recording our own military history. I was asked to write the history of the National Defence College. So, initial founding, all that, there were lots of files available. After that, there was a complete blank. So I said, how the hell do I write the history of the NDC? So I asked for the old NDC magazine. And sure enough, the Australians, the Britishers, the Americans, they had left behind accounts of their particular course. And that's how we built it up. We have a very poor sense of history. I'm delighted, sir, that you've done. It is a service to the coming generations of the armed forces. It is a service, beta, to our future generations of officers. It is essential that we learn from our own history. We don't have to read about Montgomery and Rommel and Hans Guderian, etc., etc. We have our own Guderian. We have our own Guderian. And at the end of it, let me bring out one factor which says why this book now, right? I think it's come at an extremely relevant time, very relevant time. Why? You know, when I was in Romeo Force, I have always believed God is on the side of the big battalion. That's Napoleon. So I am in good company when I say that. God is always on the side of the big battalion. I was lucky that I was BGS IW working very closely with the Army Commander General Hari Prasad. And I said, sir, आपको मेरे को बंदे देने होंगे. Manpower is needed, especially in these jungles and mountains. They eat up troops. पलटने कहाँ गई पता नहीं चलता. And every time we used to enter that dense jungle, 5 casualties minimum. Both of us have sort of gone with this, and we had to work out our drills, how to get into that dense jungle. You know, some genius had planted there these thorny bushes as part of afforestation. You know, down to the ground, you couldn't bloody crawl without getting thorns in your eyes. And it was a terrible thing to get into that jungle. Every time the boys went in, they took 5 casualties. Still, we had to work out our drills all over again, basic, go over what had happened with the boys, and then we were able to overcome that. But you need manpower, sir. And there is, unfortunately, a school of thought amongst our senior officers that manpower is a big waste of money. Manpower is a big waste of money. Are you aware that in the time of COVID, for 3 years, all recruitment to the army was stopped? Army, Navy, Air Force. 60,000 boys retire every year. 16 to 3, 1,80,000. You reduce the army by 1,80,000 men. Right? And apart from that, from uniform force, the whole of uniform force went to Ladakh. The area he and I had worked so hard to pacify, to quieten, suddenly the whole grid was unraveled. I had 18 battalions in my time. I was meeting the former corps commander, no names taken. I said, how many battalions did you have? He said, sir, 7. 7. That's your problem. How will you have a grid? You don't have a CI grid. How will you get the information? You'll be blundering around getting casualties. That is precisely what happened last 2, 3, 4 years. They started infiltrating SSG guys. And for the first time I have seen a Pakistani terrorist come onto the bloody main road and stand there in the center. I have not seen any local terrorist do that. Please. Stand in the middle of that road and fire at the head of that poor driver who was coming from that side. You had these SSG trained commandos who had been sent in. And we had given them that opening because that area had been pacified. Everybody felt, ye to bilkul hi, quietened hai, nothing. Why waste troops? Why waste troops? Look, killing a terrorist or killing terrorism is much like pushing a man to death at the bottom of a tub. You may push him down to the tub, you see, but till the last bubbles don't stop coming out. If you release him, he is back. I have seen this reversion happening a number of times. हो गया, pacify कर दिया. अब हटाओ, यहाँ से निकालो. We need them somewhere else. We need them here. We need them there, and you go wrong. Because even if nothing is happening, for some time you have to keep the pressure on. We removed the grid, we removed the pressure, we removed the manpower, we have paid a price for it. And if tomorrow we are all talking of taking back POK, Gilgit, Baltistan, sir, if you screw your infantry like this, you will take back nothing. No, I am being, I think all of us have seen a lot of combat. We haven't done a left hand salute. None of the people sitting here have done a left hand salute. We have seen combat, and I am saying on the basis of combat, all this great thing about, the manpower is a big waste of money, waste of resources. I'm sorry you got it wrong. And if you want to see, please take a look at what is happening in the Russia-Ukraine war. Entire units are finished in a matter of minutes. You don't have manpower, sir. आप करोगे क्या? And if you want to fight in the mountains, in the dense jungles, they eat up manpower, they eat up troops. And it is my passionate plea to the powers that be. I've tried to meet whosoever I can. It is a voice in the wilderness so far, but I'm sure it will be heard. It will have to be heard. We can't, Operation Sindoor, sir, is not over. This one, you went air power centric, you went drone power centric, which is excellent for escalation, dominance, and control. And you were able to inflict a heavy amount of damage. At the end of it, what happened? कुछ हुआ ही नहीं साहब. 2016 सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक, आपने साहब कुत्ते बिल्ली मारे. Because it was in a jungle, dense jungle area, no local population, no local media. So Pakistan could get away. We killed 40. He said, nahi, kuch nahi mara. Again, when we did it in Balakot, we killed about 200. Again in the jungle area, jungle mein mor nacha, kisi ne na dekha. So this time I am so happy that you went for Bhavalpur, Markaz-e Subhanallah in Bhavalpur, Markaz-e Taiba in मुरीद के लाहौर एंड सियालकोट हेडक्वार्टर. अब कुत्ते बिल्ली चूहे गौरैया कौए सब गिन ले, देर गिन लीजिए. You see, but the point is, sir, and this, with your permission, sir, I'd like to say one thing. We joined when the 1971 war. We were commissioned a month before the war. My batch was taken out of IMA, thrown into Bangladesh. Right? We've had the maximum casualties. But let me tell you one thing. The entire restructuring of subcontinental security that you had done in 1971 has been undone. Unravel ho gaya. 2.5 run war, sir, you are in a 3.5 run war. That Kreski Bangladesh, जिसको आजाद कराया था, वहां पे जमायते इस्लामी और रजाकार वापस आ गए हैं. Those who were supplying women to the Pakistani army. The Chinese were saying that, a string of pearl. You, sir, are a ring of fire. And it is the United States, your best friend, which is doing it to you. You have had the colored revolution in Sri Lanka, in Bangladesh, in Nepal, and now in Ladakh. Right? We are in a grim security situation. You will have to repeat the restructuring of South Asian security as you had done in 1971. 1971, there was no nuclear background. Right? Now there is. So can we achieve decisive results against a nuclear backdrop? My humble submission is that the best lesson of Operation Sindoor is yes, you can. Yes, you can. Look, it's not a pipe dream. The simple fact is the Israelis went in for the Iron Dome. Unbeatable layered air defense. The Americans are wanting to go in for the Golden Dome. Unbeatable air defense, right? And the simple fact is that this kind of an air defense can take care of any moderately armed nuclear power like North Korea, like Iran, like Pakistan. 90% of all the drones sent by Pakistan were shot down. 100%. They fired just 3 missiles. 100%. All 3 were shot down. 2 were towards Delhi. 1 was towards Amritsar. They were all shot down over Sirsa. So that just shows you that this Gidad Bhabki of Pakistan, of a nuclear threat scenario, we can afford to ignore it and going for decisive results. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. Hadi sir, thank you so much for coming out to that. May God bless you, sir.